Then you just, I'm not gonna tell you what you just did.
Right, I'll let Tom know.
What did you think?
Oh, I didn't get it.
Just let you keep.
Well,
So Miss Moore is in a breakout with the 3 o'clock. So if anybody else shows up from that docket, I guess they can go right into a breakout room with her and they can do what they need to do. Mr. Schneider, good afternoon, Mr. Glenn.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
I have not seen your client as of yet. Your schedule, I'm well, thanks for asking.
Okay.
I know you're scheduled at 2 o'clock. We're gonna hold the 1:30 exam. If your client shows up, do you need to talk to him?
Yes, I do. To see if he still wants to hold, that's all.
If he shows up, I'll move you all into a breakout room.
Well, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. What happened with McCune?
My understanding is the defendant's here on that one, Judge, but we're waiting on Mr. Nose, his attorney.
Okay. This is 201659FY, State of Michigan versus Benjamin Richard Schrock. Appearances, please.
Alexander Curry on behalf of the people, Your Honor, P84950.
Good afternoon, may it please the court, Neighborhood Defender Service by Andrew Sullivan, P84261. A bit of background, I believe that Mr. Henry Schneider was on the case previously. Mr. Schneider is no longer with our office. I'll be handling the case today and through to its conclusion, but obviously that will be today.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan, would you give me your P number again?
Of course, that is 84261.
Thank you. And Mr. Schrock, would you state your name for me, please?
Benjamin Richard Schrock.
Thank you. This matter was scheduled for preliminary examination today. There are 2 counts. Count 1, home invasion, 3rd degree. Count 2, malicious destruction of building, $200. Are the people ready to proceed?
People are ready, Your Honor.
Is the defendant ready to proceed?
We are ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Mr. Curry, are there any preliminary matters?
None from the people, Judge.
Any preliminary matters?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. You can have a seat. Mr. Curry, if you want to call your first witness, please.
Thank you, Judge. The people called David Wenzel.
Mr. Wenzel, I'm going to have you come through the gate into this podium right here, please. And would you spell your first and last name for me?
David, D-A-V-I-D-W-E-N-Z-E-L.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can come up here, have a seat in this purple chair. Pull the microphone towards your mouth, sir. Thank you. Keep your voice up. It's being recorded. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Curry.
Thank you, Judge. Would you please repeat your name for the record?
David A. Wenzel.
And Mr. Wenzel, I want to direct your attention to the address of 29328 Grix Road. What is that address to you, sir?
My home.
Is that in Huron Township?
Yes, it is.
Is that in Wayne County?
Yes.
And now, Mr. Wenzel, I want to direct your attention to November the 21st of 2020. Where were you that day?
At home.
And
Bed.
did you eventually go to sleep that night?
Yes.
And what, if anything, occurred the night of November 21st, Mr. Wenzel?
Heard some banging around outside. Got up, the back porch was lit up in the backyard from the motion sensors. Then I went and looked out front, and the front was lit up too with the motion sensors. And then I heard banging around the back of the house, and then Ben Schrock came through our back door.
Now, I want to back up a little bit. Did you, when you were looking at where the motion detectors went off, were you upstairs at this time?
It's a single floor home.
Oh, single floor, okay. And then did you eventually see the source of that banging you testified to?
When I walked out of the living room and back down to the kitchen, and then he was running around in front of the garage and by the truck and up the stairs and through the back door.
So he was outside when you
Yes.
first, and then he eventually came inside, you said?
Yes.
How did he gain entry?
Jumped through the back door. Did
Was
a
the
body-
was the door open?
Nope, the door was locked.
And I'm sorry, you said you saw him come through the back door?
Yes, I was standing there in the dining room into the kitchen, and he came right through the back door.
And you said this person's name was Schrock. Is that person in court today?
Yes, he is,
Could you possibly identify that person, maybe by an article clothing number?
right there.
He's seated behind me to my right, or excuse me, next to me.
Yes.
And can you describe one article of clothing he's wearing, please?
His flannel shirt.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Wenzel, did Mr. Schrock have permission to be in your home at that time?
No.
So now directing your attention to when he's in your house, Mr. Wenzel, what was he doing while he was inside your home?
Running around like a madman, saying they're gonna get me. I gotta stay here, help me, hide me.
And can you describe what he looked like at that time?
A mess.
How so?
Tripping on drugs, alcohol, pills, something, I don't know what.
What about his physical
There's,
appearance?
Speculation. Doesn't seem that the witness has any personal knowledge of that.
I have no response to that objection, Judge.
I'm going to overrule the objection. May continue.
So, Mr. Wenzel, as to his physical appearance of how he, what he looked like, can you talk about that?
Disheveled, dirty, a mess.
Was he bleeding?
Bleeding all over the house. Kitchen, dining room, living room, bedroom. Locked himself in our bedroom and then wouldn't come back out. We finally got the door open and got him out of the house.
And after you got him out of the house, did you call the police?
I was on the phone with the police while he was in the house and we were trying to get him out. I dialed 911.
And after he was out of the home, Mr. Wenzel, did you guys attempt to clean up the mess?
No, we were just too shaken up and nothing has ever happened like this before, so.
Did you eventually clean up the mess?
Yes,
Where was the blood? You testified that blood was falling off him. Where was the blood when you did eventually clean up the mess?
on the kitchen floor, on the kitchen rugs, on the dining room rug, on the dining room carpeting, on the living room carpeting, on the dining room rug, on the rug in front of the bathroom door, on the carpeting in front of the bathroom, in the bedroom, on our carpeting, on the walls, on the doors.
And approximately how long did that take you to clean up?
4 to 5 hours.
And Mr. Wenzel, lastly, can you describe your door after these events had transpired?
The glass was broken out, had to readjust the latch. The handle was, I don't know what he'd done to the handle, but that was loose too, so must have been kicking on that. I was able to fix that.
And so just for clarification, when he came into the home, did he go through the glass or did he open the door?
Through the glass, dove through the glass and did a body roll into the kitchen.
Judge, no further questions for this witness at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Wenzel, you testified that Mr. Schrock said that they're gonna get me. Is that right?
Mhm.
And he told you, he asked you to help him. Is that right?
Yes.
Was it your understanding that he was being chased?
I would have no idea because I was sleeping, so.
Based on the way that you described his behavior, did it seem that he was in fear?
Possibly, I guess.
Did he threaten you in any way?
No,
Did he take anything from your house?
no,
Did he attempt to harm you in any way?
no.
time, Your Honor.
Any redirect, Mr.
Yes,
Curry?
Judge, very briefly. Mr. Wenzel, did the police eventually arrive at your home?
Yes, they did.
And did anyone other than the police or Mr. Schrock arrive at your home that night?
No,
Did you see anyone surrounding the home?
no,
Anyone on the street?
no.
No further questions, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Wenzel, that concludes your testimony. Thank you for coming in this afternoon. Step down. Your next witness, Mr. Curry.
That's it for the people, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, anything?
No witnesses for the defense, Your Honor.
Argument, Mr. Curry.
Yes, Judge, the people would move for a bind over at this time. We heard from Mr. Wenzel that we've heard a pretty clear chain of events. Judge, he heard some banging, investigated the banging. The defendant busted through the door. You heard Mr. Wenzel say he went through the glass panel. Didn't have permission to do that or come in the home. Ran around the house, blood all over the house, and there was damage to the door, Judge. So the people contend that they've met their burden today and request a bind over at this time.
Sir.
Yes, Your Honor. The crime of home invasion or commonly known burglary requires that the defendant not only enter, but enter with intent to commit a crime. I believe in this case, he's charged with intent to commit a misdemeanor. I don't believe that the state has met their burden on that element of intent. I think that the testimony actually displays quite clearly when Mr. Schrock entered that he was fleeing those others that were pursuing him. He asked for help. He said, "They're going to get me." I think that element, not only is it not met, but actually there's been proof presented to the contrary that Mr. Schrock entered with another intent, a non-criminal intent. He was looking for a safe harbor, Your Honor. Furthermore, if it's, I'm not sure that it's been established that a vandalism was committed, because again, a vandalism requires intent, mens rea. I don't believe that there's a criminal vandalism having occurred. Furthermore, I don't believe that there was any intent to commit a misdemeanor vandalism. For these reasons, Your Honor, I feel that the state's burden has not been met. There is not probable cause in this case. If a vandalism breaking the door were sufficient to meet this element of intent to commit a crime, the statute itself would become circular, Your Honor. The legislature intended, by writing the law the way they did, with an intent to commit a crime, to require more than just breaking the door, right? Breaking the door satisfies the first element, but it couldn't be that act satisfies both the first and the second element, or there would be no reason for the legislature to write that second element into the statute, the intent to commit a misdemeanor or a felony, that being the difference between different levels of home invasion. I would argue that using vandalism to wit breaking the door is circular to accomplish meeting both of these elements, Your Honor, and for these reasons, I don't feel the probable cause has been met, and we'd ask you to dismiss the case today.
Judge, I don't believe the legislature's intent for today's purposes are relevant. It's a question of fact as to why this individual broke the door. He was inside. You heard testimony that he did not have permission to be there. And the underlying crime that is included in this home invasion third degree is, defense counsel is correct to point out that it was malicious destruction of a building, less than $200. And Judge, that was accomplished in the breaking of the door. So although it may seem circular, it was still done within the entering of the home, Judge. So the people would request a bind over at this time. And it's a question of fact as to why he broke the door, Judge. And that'd be my last argument. Some people would request a bind over at this time.
Thank you. The court has listened to the testimony of Mr. Wenzel and will find that the people have met their burden. Mr. Schrock will be bound over as previously charged. Next date will be the arraignment on the information. Frank Murphy Hall of Justice on July 14, 2021 at 9 a.m. His previously entered bond with any conditions will continue. Anything else, Mr. Curry?
Nothing with people, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Sullivan?
Nothing for the defense, Your Honor.
Thank you. Have a good day. Who is this person out in the hallway with the burgundy stripe right there talking to Garcia? Do you know who that is? Thank you. Mr. Hernandez? It is very disconcerting to see somebody in the door like that. I don't know if you were watching him. Okay. Yeah.
They're talking about 2:30, I don't know what the executive do, either hold or go. I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the very first one, we're just waiting on notes. We can't contact him. I'm gonna see if I get Heather to call,
Thank you.
but that's,
Oh, you might want to grab Sullivan. He's from NDS as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's why Brandy ran out of here. She thought I was gonna try to grab her on that one.
So Henry Schneider is with them anymore?
That caught me off guard. Mr. Hernandez, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
What are you here for, sir?
To testify according
In
to
which matter?
the case number, excuse me for 1 second.
No, the name of the defendant if you have it.
Oh, William Wood, Your Honor.
That matter is scheduled at 2:00. If you would keep yourself there and muted, I'll let the prosecutor know you're here.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Detective Long.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
You're on William Wood as well?
That is correct.
Okay. Waiting for Mr. Wood and then we'll get going, hopefully.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you didn't hear anything about Henry? I really like him.
I do too.
I hope he's still around.
Prosecutor and counselor negotiating another 30 seconds. We can have an answer on that one and try to find somebody for cover for those. The usual song game that we used to do on Wednesdays at the other.
No, that never happened. What are you talking about?
Except then we used to eat till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
So they moved on from sunflowers and now they're eating apples. Apples already falling out of the tree. They're super small, but still.
Rabbits eat apples?
We went out at lunchtime. That's what the rabbit was eating, nibbling on.
How many rabbits do you think you have around there? A lot? Like a whole family?
Yeah.
And it hasn't been like that in the past?
It was probably, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, cutting the grass. I'm on the berm and I stopped for something and I don't remember what, but I'm writing and I stopped. And it was like they came out of this hole on the berm and they ran around the tractor and then they ran out under the deck. And so then it was a couple of years of voles that were tearing up our grass. You could, when you're on the second floor and look down, it looked like a maze because the voles were going nuts. And then last summer, the rabbits started up again. They weren't that bad. They weren't as bad as they are right now. They would eat the lilies, but they weren't eating anything else. But this year it's been crazy. My husband's like, do you guys talk about anything else? I'm like, what is there to talk about?
Well, but I love animals. There must be something that you can put out there that will make them not hang around and eat your flowers.
Like what? That won't kill them. And I don't want
Yeah,
to
I
kill
don't
them.
wanna
I just
kill
don't want them in the. But it's not just our house, because when I go out in the morning, I usually see them next door hanging out around the air conditioner. And as we come around the corner, they'll scatter. I've seen as many as 3 of them together, and they're different sizes, so I know that there's a thing. But when I came downstairs the other day and they're in the front of the house eating the portulacus. I just lost it. I really did. But if that's the worst thing that happens in my day, I consider that a very first world problem. But I yanked the door open. I was like, get out of my yard. I turned into that person. It's like the flowers look so pretty. They were so happy with the rainwater, but yeah. I don't know why we schedule stuff at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock and subject Mr. Hernandez and Detective Long is laughing. He's actually laughing, and I don't know how I feel about that.
He's frozen on ice cream.
He's not frozen. He can send ordinance over to deal with my rabbit problem.
You got a rabbit problem. We got the perfect person for that. It's not that bad. Like I said to Marianne, that's a very first world problem that it's fun to laugh about, but they're not bothering me.
This is how bored I am. I have no life now. I have a chipmunk eating out of my hand now. It took no. I like it. It's coming and sitting in my hand.
If she shows up to work with that thing, I'm telling you. Thank you.
No, it doesn't need a mouth big enough. Watch out. Watch out.
She's gonna grow a tail. You're gonna have you have to get the shots in your stomach. Do they do that still?
I don't know if they still do that. That's old school.
I'm telling on myself.
Why? Did you have to have it done?
They'll make you eat a hamburger every day. That's how you treat rabies.
Oh,
Why did he have to get what bit him? A chipmunk? No.
I'm gonna remind me later. I'm gonna show you the video of this raccoon. This was last year.
At your house?
I'm in the laundry room and I look out and I see this super fat raccoon, and it's the middle of the afternoon, which you know is never a good sign. And he would fall down and lay there for a minute and then get up and kind of bump around the side of this condenser unit next door. So I get my husband. I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking he's probably not in good health. They call, the guy comes out with the truck and the long stick, and he just puts the thing around the thing's neck, and they're gone. But I'm gonna show you the video because you could tell this thing was sick in a bad way. And I was thinking somebody's gonna get rabies, but it wasn't move when the ordinance guy came around the side of the house. It didn't even move. But when he put the thing around his neck, he started with that. I'm sorry.
A lot of them get distemper. And they usually walk around in circles.
It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's how I knew.
Yeah.
I wasn't going outside, but I called my neighbor and I said, hey, there's a raccoon on the side of your house. We're calling the township.
We had beautiful sugar snap peas this year. They were coming in, they were looking so good. The rabbits got them all. I was so mad. Oh man. They were just
You're gonna bring in a whole bushel of them, huh?
Oh, I wish. Those don't last long in our house. Sugar snap
Oh, I'm
peas.
sure. We had a neighbor that used to bring corn to our house. He got it from his brother's place. And I didn't know where it came from at first. I came home one day and there's 2 big grocery bags, plastic grocery bags full of corn just pressed up against our garage door. I'm like, who in the world is dropping off corn? It was so sweet. You didn't have to do anything to it. I just boiled it real quick and it was the most delicious. We got it for a couple of years and the guy stopped growing. I was so sad. I know. It was sweeter than anywhere else we'd ever gotten. We're not waiving. No, it's 2:16. We're going. Everything is holding today.
Just seems would be too nice.
No, we're not waiving. We waived all morning.
No, I'm sorry, you're right. My apologies.
Don't listen to Officer Garcia.
Apparently, he's
I know
being
what
drawn
I'm doing.
information. I was being intimidated by the prosecutor.
Were you thumb wrestling? Is that what happened? I know. Cornett?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. This is 210379 FT, State of Michigan versus James Morris Cornett. Appearances, please.
Alex Curry on behalf of the people, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Timothy Rather from the Neighborhood Police Service of Detroit. My P number is 70539. On behalf of Mr. Cornett and his present to my right.
My name is James Cornett, Your
Thank-
Honor.
Thank you, sir. This matter was scheduled for preliminary examination at 2:30. It's 2:17 by the court's clock. Inasmuch as the parties have entered and security has advised me that there will be a waiver in this matter, is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Mr. Cornett, you've had an opportunity to speak to your attorney this afternoon regarding the preliminary examination
That is correct, Your
and
Honor.
the rights associated with it. I wasn't gesturing to you. I'm so sorry. I was gesturing to the court officers, but you can come. I don't normally gesture to attorneys like that. So Mr. Rather explained your rights to you this afternoon
Yes, he did, Your Honor.
and the purposes of a preliminary examination.
Correct.
And that the prosecutor would have to prove that probable cause existed to believe that a crime had been committed and you were involved in the commission of that crime.
That is correct.
And your attorneys indicated that you will waive your right to have that exam this afternoon.
That is correct.
The form that he's turned to page 2 is the waiver of that exam. He'll sign it, you'll sign it, and it'll come back to me and I'll sign it. Now, see, that's what I get. If I hadn't just wagged my finger and actually said, officer, would you come retrieve this file? No, that's my fault. There's all of you that I know your names and I should just call you up versus this whole thing. No, it's fine. Are you kidding me? The file is back. Defense counsel and defendant have both signed the waiver. The court will sign the same. Mr. Cornett, you will be bound over as previously charged. Your next court date will be an arraignment on the information that will happen at the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, July 14, 2019 at 9 a.m. Your previously entered bond with any conditions will continue. Anything else on behalf of the people?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Rather?
Yeah, I'll try. Thank you.
You're so very welcome. I'm processing the file. I'll send it down to the clerks. We're all set. Mr. Cornett, you have a wonderful afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you,
Be
Your
safe,
Honor.
everyone.
Mr. Noakes needs an adjournment. We need it to end it.
Is there somebody to stand with him? Is there still NDS and Mr. Sullivan stay?
No one stayed.
Okay. You can have him come in.
Well,
Mr. Rather is from NDS.
Oh, yeah, I forgot there's a Noakes issue.
Yeah, I don't know if you can help us.
I'm just gonna get a new date, but the problem is, Mary Ann, I'll have to check because I think we're booked through September 20-something.
Yeah, let me go into that. I need to go.
Go in.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I have it running.
Okay. Hey, sir.